let's talk for a moment about saddle fit. Jim, would you be willing to grab your saddle, bring your saddle over? And you can just put it in our vicinity. And actually, before we do that, so maybe just set it here. Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about the horse's anatomy. So, and I will, if you would be my lovely miss who holds those. Thank you. Plus the horse. So I first want to begin by identifying where his scapula is. And on most horses, it's pretty easy to feel. Do you see how my fingers drop behind the scapula? And Jim, I'll let you feel that. Really feel where that scapula ends. It's not unlike feeling it on ourselves, okay? So at a standstill, his scapula is at that part. And I'm going to mark it here so we can see it. Is that accurate?
Correct.
So where we felt
yes.
that? Yeah. Well, oftentimes we fit a saddle, most often we fit saddles to horses at a standstill. And that's well and good, as long as they stay at a standstill. But as soon as they move, it's different. And so to me, there's value in understanding the kinesthetics of how a horse in motion travels. So just to do a simple demonstration, when I take his leg and lift it forward, not unlike the motion of him walking, his scapula moves back to about this point. You want to come in here and feel that?
Okay.
Can you see how my finger drops in there?
Yeah.
Okay, go keep your hands there for a minute. And we're going to mark that spot. And here. Right. Draw on a horse. There we go. Does that allow us to see that a little bit? And Sherry, can you see that difference? There's about a 2 to 2.5 inch difference on that. Really like that. So what occurs with traditional saddle fit is when we fit it at a standstill, and I'll show this. Where we typically fit a saddle for it to sit balanced, can we agree that that's where you put it for it to be level?
Correct.
Okay. Well, this is the first weight-bearing part of a saddle, the significant weight-bearing part. So oftentimes when we fit a saddle for it to be balanced is good for where his shoulder is not in motion. Let me remind you that this is our spot, and in fact, I'll kind of drop them down further so we can get an idea. Do you mind I'm drawing on your horse? A little late to ask, huh?
I don't think he seems to care.
See, I've extended those down. So we'd like, at a minimum, where we normally fit the saddle, we want the first weight-bearing part of the saddle to be behind this line.
Okay.
Which it is. But that's only at a standstill. Now all of a sudden when you ask this horse to move, which I presume you do when you ride, ask him to move, where we have the saddle is in front of where his scapula is going to move back to. Can you see that?
Okay.
So now all of a sudden we put the saddle plus our weight in a position that blocks their shoulder. So it's like my asking you to swim freestyle in a race, but sticking my thumb in your scapula the whole time. And it makes it difficult. So the way we traditionally fit saddles is actually the opposite of what a horse needs to do to be in motion. Does that concept make sense?
Correct. Yeah.
So I would prefer to put the first weight-bearing part of the saddle slightly further back. So the first weight-bearing part, I'm going to move this out of our way so we can see for a moment. So that the first weight-bearing part is behind the part where his scapula moved.
Oh, okay.
Remember that second line is where the scapula went to allow the scapula full rotation. Well, this is now a better position for him to have movement, except for as a rider, we're now riding slightly downhill. Okay? So this is where our shim system comes in. And Jim, I'll have you go to the other side of the saddle if you would, please. And what we're going to do, and this is where we're going to use the shims to fit.
Okay.
I want us to slide this black shim kind of under here. So lift the front of it up with me and slide it back kind of to where that line is.
Okay.
And you can see that that already has slightly leveled us.
Correct.
We're still a little downhill. Can you see that?
Yep.
So let's add our quarter shim
on top of that one.
On top of that one.
Okay.
Okay. And now we're going to take a look-see. So we'd like to see that the bars of our saddle sit level. Okay. So that this is the deepest part of the saddle. Okay. That to me does look like a more balanced fit.
Correct.
Does that look more level to you? Okay. And then, in doing so, we want to be sure that our horse has adequate shoulder room. Well, if you run your hand under the saddle, there's ample room.
There's a lot of room with those shims in
for that shoulder to move. Now contrast that with, let's pull our shims out and just slide them up his neck. He don't mind. Good horse. And now contrast that to where we normally fit our saddle.
It's tight.
And now try to put your hand in there.
Yeah, there
and
is.
You can't get in.
There's no room.
Much less having a pad on, being cinched up and sitting on.
Okay.
Okay, there's no room. So that's the concept behind this pad.